and welcome back to the Misery Loves Mandy podcast. This week we are joined by Alex Hooper. I was very excited to have him on. We talked all about traveling and doing stand-up on the road. He's also going to be filming his third comedy special in January in Connecticut. So if anyone is from there, you have got to go. You will love him. The link will be below. Make sure to like and subscribe and enjoy. Thanks for watching. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Rolling, rolling, rolling. We're doing it. Oh my God. Thank you so much. I'm going to get my coffee ready.
Yeah, do your thing. I wasn't sure if we were already, recording. Like, are we in it right now?
Let's start right this second.
Right now. Okay,
right
perfect.
now. Alex Hooper, everybody.
Whoa!
Ah! You just got back from Florida, right?
Yes, I did. Can you smell it on me?
I do. I got pretty excited the second I saw you.
Yeah, there's kind of a just swamp aura happening within me. I'm still trying to shower it off.
Was it still really hot or was it decent?
No, it was okay. It was in the low 80s each day. And so, for Florida, that's not bad.
I know, it's not bad at all.
The last time I was in Florida, I was booked there in the beginning of August.
Okay.
And so that was brutal the entire time.
Yeah.
At least now, when it got to nighttime, it was we're in the low 70s. Mm-hmm. And, which for Florida's nice.
It's not bad. I think October is the nicest month in Florida, for sure.
Yeah, I had a great time. I always have a great time in Florida. For all the things that are wrong with it, there are so many things right with it. Mm-hmm. And I personally, I root for Florida.
Yeah!
I really do. I attended a few book burnings while I was there. You gotta do something when you're only doing shows at night. How do I fill the rest of my day?
Alligator hunting.
Sure.
All the fun stuff.
I don't know about you, because you grew up there, right?
Yeah.
Every single time I see any body of water, I look for alligators.
Yeah, so do I.
I've never actually seen one.
What?
The only time I thought that I actually saw one, it turned out to be a 44-year-old man sunbathing. And he still snapped at me, so it kind of counts.
I think it counts for sure.
But I've never actually seen one in the wild in Florida.
Oh yeah, they're out there.
I want to see.
Next time you will. If you just drive down any of the highways that have the canals on the side, they're always piled up. And then last time I was home, I saw my dad and I were having coffee. We were up before everybody else. And we're sitting at his lake house. And he just got, and we're like, oh, this is nice. It's at a different side of the lake that our camper used to be on. And I just see the two eyes go up. And we've never seen an alligator. I've gone there since I was a kid at this lake. No one ever talks about alligators. And we were just looked at each other and we're like, just pretend we didn't see this. Let's not tell anyone.
No, wait. Is this a lake that you would have jumped into to swim?
Oh, we were all
otherwise?
swimming in it.
Oh, no. See, that's where I get scared. Somebody asked me, they're like, hey, there's a really nice lake nearby if you want to jump in. And all I think about is alligators.
Yeah.
A fan of mine, she kind of became a friend through social media. We've only met once though. She moved to Florida for a little while and started swimming with this giant gator in a pool.
Wait, what?
And she there's a guy who really knows what he's doing, and he's just you have to just get in here and be really comfortable. This thing is a gigantic alligator. I'm talking a 12-footer or something like that.
It could be a baby alligator.
Yeah,
and I would say no.
Almost scarier that it's a baby alligator, because then it could just ride up my pant leg or something like that. But she was like, Alex, I'm telling you, if you come out to Florida, you will get in this pool with this alligator and you're just gonna love every second. And there's something about that where I'm pretty fearless about most things. Alligator, No. I just don't, I want nothing to do with it.
No, I completely agree. And by swimming, I mean we'd go like tubing and skiing. So it's like you're only in the water for a second until you're like, get that boat back here.
Right.
So not like jumping off the dock and being like, ah, like no Jaws moment.
Yeah, I just assume that they're there, and
They
I
have to be.
can't get that thought out of my head. Like when I was a little kid, I didn't go in the ocean for 2 years because I saw Jaws when I was 6 years old, and my family would take a week-long trip to Ocean City, Maryland every week, and for 2 straight years, I would not go in the ocean because I had that image in my head of, well, there's a shark. So, no.
I don't blame you. I went to a lake once in New York. Oh my God. It's too cold for most animals. So there's no animals in it. And it was beautiful. And I was like, what the hell was I doing in these other lakes my whole life?
Right?
No.
I love a good cold lake. I mean, I will say lake swimming is my absolute favorite kind of swimming. Like between oceans, pools, you know, I don't know, whatever else. But like when you're in just a beautiful area of nature with a lake, like up in New Hampshire. I mean, I've been to one beautiful ones in California. It's just, there's something about it. It's just so clean.
Mm-hmm. Not the Florida ones. The other.
That's the other thing.
Other one.
I literally took like an Instagram video of a duck swimming across a pond, and there was so much green algae at the top that it was just making a line through it. And I'm just like, no, I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, well, I made it through my whole life swimming in those without that. But I do have alligator nightmares to this day.
I mean, how could you not? I mean, you grow up with them. Doesn't mean you're going to be comfortable with them all of a sudden.
No. All right, let's cheers. We're going to make some drinking noises. So this, you Venmo for this, everybody.
Into it. Yeah, you know, my wife is a copywriter, and they say on all the Starbucks cups, that first sip feeling.
Yes!
And she 100% is like, whoever came up with that is a fucking genius. Like that, it nails it.
It does! I can't believe you just said that. So my Halloween episode, I just had Matt Catizano on, and I said I always wait for my guests to have the first sip, because there's nothing like the first sip.
Yep.
Then he tells me this is on there, what you just said. I never knew that was there.
Yeah.
And it's so true. It's just so exciting.
I don't think I would have noticed it either, except the fact that my wife is in a sales, like brand voice, marketing, like copywriting stuff. And so that one specifically, it's so simple, but it really does nail it.
Yeah. Good job, Starbucks. I think you guys are going to really make it out there.
I know. Keep fighting those unions.
So you're on the road a bunch right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have been. I have like one more weekend left this year, and then I'm kind of in chill mode for a little bit. But I wanted to trickle back after like having a really rough last year, and so I took what I could for the summer and the fall, and then I didn't push too much. But the last 2 months, it's been really good. I've been all over the map. I was in Oregon, and I was in Connecticut, New York, Arizona, all over Texas, Northern California, like way up at the top, Eureka, California. I just got back from Florida. Yeah, so
that's awesome.
I know I'm missing some, but yeah, it was one of those just like, yeah.
Where's your favorite place to go?
It's hard to, people ask me that a lot, and I never have a good answer for it. And I think it's because wherever there's great crowds, I'm happy to be there. Like, to travel to within the United States, I love going to Colorado because it's always beautiful, and it's just, the people there are wonderful. The scenery changes so much, and like, I've driven all over that state for touring, and it's just wonderful. But then I have like a great fan base in Lincoln, Nebraska. So I've been there 3 times, and they always show up for me, and they're wonderful. So I'm one of it's just like, if there's a great crowd, like I could be in an amazing city and not have good shows, and then I'm like, fuck this city.
Yeah.
Like I remember like I didn't sell well in Chicago, and I liked Chicago overall, but I was like, well, stupid Chicago sucks. Take me back to Lincoln, Nebraska. Take me back to fucking Phoenix. And Phoenix is a place where I shouldn't enjoy, but they have really good comedy crowds somehow. Like, and I mean, when I was just there, I sold really well, and it's a different type of person that lives in Phoenix. It's like basically like they're still super hot like LA people, but they didn't want to be an LA person.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. It's weird, but yeah. I just like going anywhere new. You know?
Yeah.
I don't care where it is. Like, there's some places where it's like, oh, that sucks, you have to go there. Like, I was just in the Dakotas, and, like, not my favorite shows I've ever done, but at least now I can say I've done shows in Fargo, North Dakota, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota. At least I know what's there.
Someone at the show we just did in Minnesota told us that we should go to Fargo.
It was cool. Fargo was a beautiful little town. It was definitely like they have one like big main street, right, in their downtown area, and everything was just like pizza, ice cream, donut. Pizza, ice cream, donut. And it was all variations of those things.
Fun.
But I was with a couple Midwest comics, and we were trying to decide where to eat. And one of them sees me and says, "Ooh, the drunken noodle. That sounds good." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you guys like Thai food?" And we walk over there, they look at the menu, and one of them's like, "I don't think my stomach can do this." And then we end up at the Blarney Stone, like just
a bar?
Basically a chain Irish restaurant,
Okay.
which is fine. But I was like, it's so funny to me that like you're afraid of a rice bowl, but okay, I forget where I am sometimes. You know, not everyone's as adventurous with food as I am.
And in LA where we have all the food, so we get to try everything.
Yeah.
We're used to it. Like ramen back home, that's not a thing.
Yeah, I actually, my wife and I, when we went to Japan earlier this year, we got ramen a few times, but I really learned quickly, we have great ramen in LA.
I went to Tokyo like right before the quarantine, and I'm like, Silver Lake Ramen, you guys can't beat that shit.
Yeah, I mean, the first bowl of ramen we had was just not good, and then the next two we had were great, but compared to what we get in LA, I was like, it's cheaper over there, but it's not necessarily better than what we get here. And I think that's a testament to where we live. I get it. If you're going from Sioux Falls, they're like, "Oh, wow, this is amazing. There's real flavor in here. They're actually using spice. Is that pepper?" But for us, we have it all. Even the sushi in Japan, again, cheaper, not necessarily better.
I could not agree more. Also, like, my expectations were so high.
Yeah.
So that was my fault. And not taking into consideration that we are on a coast with fresh fish and the top chefs.
Yeah. They just do less with it there. Like, the presentation, they don't need to put all of these things inside of a roll. They're like, no, here is just a beautiful, fresh piece of fish and a large slice of it. And I'm like, okay, that's all I really need, I guess.
Yeah, it was good, but... yeah, I still would prefer my place out here.
Yeah, I hear you.
Did you notice that they don't give you, like, any napkins?
Yes.
I was such a mess. I'm such a messy eater. Luckily, like, with soup, I'm not too messy. But, like, I was like, oh. And then now I do better, like, at restrooms when I leave. I, like, will just let them air dry. Because you learn out there, like, your hands are going to air dry so quickly. We're just used to just all the paper.
Yeah, I mean, everything in Japan is so much more economical than it is here. Like, it's efficient, it's well put together, and it's not wasteful in any way. I mean, the craziest thing, I'm sure you experienced this too. Japan, there's no trash cans anywhere. You can never find one if you need to throw something away. However, it is the cleanest place I've ever been in my entire life.
It was so clean, so safe.
Yeah.
I recommend it to anyone listening. And it was affordable.
Yeah, completely. People are respectful there. They don't just think, well, what do I do with this bottle that I'm holding? I'll just throw it on the ground. But because then if somebody else saw you doing that, they'd be like, how dare you? The fact that they don't eat while they walk or drink while they walk, my wife loved that because there's nothing, she hates when we're at a music festival and we're like standing there with like a burrito, just like, she hates that so much. She wants to sit down at a nice table, even in the grass is fine. But in Japan, like, you do not like just grab something quick and then walk down the street eating it. If you do, you are stared at. Like, it is a big faux pas.
I love walking with a drink, so when I read that, it's not like a deal breaker. I will live. But I was like, oh, that's so weird. And then you really didn't see many people.
No.
You saw a few with drinks, no food. but not much.
And I agree with you. Like, it's just, you suddenly are like, I just want to walk down the street with my coffee and drink it. And it's like, no, we're going to sit on this bench and then we'll finish it there. And it's fine because I never wanted to be the stupid looking American over there that's not going along with their policies and their culture. There was a day when my wife and I were going to, it was called Team Lab Planets, and it's an interactive, like, immersive experience museum.
I didn't get to go. I wanted to go so bad. That was one on my top list. There was reasons why we couldn't, but I'm so happy you got to go.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it's like 8 different rooms or something like that. Everyone has a different theme, and they say you're going to walk through knee-deep water, so I wore shorts. The second I walked out of our hotel, I was like, no one's wearing shorts. And it was a hot day. It was like an 80-something degree day. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm the only one. And the only people I saw wearing shorts were literally other white men that were visiting. And I have never felt so self-conscious in my life for just wearing a pair of, like, just everyday, like, going out shorts. And I just felt like everyone's looking at me. They know I'm a loser. Like, every part of my, like, self-worth just started disintegrating within me just because I chose the wrong fashion over there.
That's really funny.
Yeah, they're very modest. They cover everything over there.
I packed completely wrong.
Really? Why?
I thought it was gonna be like K-pop.
Oh, did you just go over there like dressed like an anime character, like ready to go with your Pikachu onesie?
I brought bright colors and like fun outfits. And I'm like, this looks like everyone's dressed like New York City.
Yeah.
Black, but like well-dressed people in New York City. Like they just walked out of Express, just black and clean, pressed, and I'm just like...
Yeah, the rainbow people of Japan are like, it's part of the 1%. Like, most people there, it looks like they just transported from Amish country. Like, they are so covered and put together, and they are dressed in these fashions that really look like they are from, like, the 1800s. Mm-hmm. And that's normal over there. But then you have that very small super counterculture that just goes against everything. Yeah. And they literally just look like they just walked out of Street Fighter and are ready to go. I mean, that's the crazy thing about Japan. Like, as well, like, I mean, there's so much, the counterculture there is so insane that you can just find anything. Like, there's that restaurant where you literally sit on a toilet and they serve you soup out of a little toilet. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's not what I want in my dining experience.
Oh my God, I did not go there.
I didn't go to that one either. Somebody told me, like, you gotta go to the toilet restaurant. And I told my wife that. She goes, we don't have to go to that. No. Like, that's one of those things where, like when we went to Thailand together, I was like, can we please see a ping pong ball show? Like, I know it's not your thing. She's like, I have no interest in that. I was like, none. You don't just want to see them serve it straight out of their snatch. I want to see it. It's not sexual. It's pure curiosity of the human body.
I want to see that.
Yeah. I mean, I get why, like she's a little more, like, you know, conservative in that space where she's like, I don't want to watch this girl that clearly doesn't want to be there doing this thing, you know? Like, if I went to Tijuana, would I see a donkey show? Maybe I would. Maybe I would. But I would have to go by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she always does. She goes, if you want to do that, you can go alone. I don't want to separate.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Watch a man shoot it out of his anus. Like, that's the problem. It's because it's a young girl.
I went, speaking of young girls, I went to one of those cafes in Tokyo. What were they? Just like, what do they call them?
Yes, there's a name for them, and I can't think of what they are right now.
Neither.
But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But basically, where the girls are just all like, you pay for their time, and they're just like young and beautiful, and they just serve you and sit with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting, and the lighting was very dim and like it had like an eerie vibe to the room.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a little... We watched a show before we went called Tokyo Vice it was on HBO Max, whatever it is, and we were staying in Kabukicho in Tokyo, which is basically where that, like, red light district kind of is. So as soon as we got there, like, I was like, oh, a girl bar. That's nice that they have a bar just for girls. And my wife looks at me and goes, that's not what that is. And I was like, oh.
Very different.
Right. Okay. Hold on tight to me so I don't stumble into these places like a fucking idiot.
You really have to think twice into everything.
Yeah.
Well, I got into this because of traveling, but I just started opening for Matt, and this is my first time ever going on the road.
Cool.
Never did it before, never got there. But I, like what you said, I am taking it in because I know you'll probably get sick of it eventually, but maybe you won't. But
I haven't.
I don't think I will, but I guess I say that because some people go, oh yeah, I get old eventually. But I'm loving seeing new places. I just take it in and look and like, I don't know. It's my favorite right now.
I'm never more present than when I'm on the road.
That's how I feel.
Because especially like I spend my days just like, well, what does this city have to offer? Especially if I'm a city. It's harder when you're in these clubs that are out in the suburbs and you're kind of just like, oh, there's nothing for me around here. And so then you either have to rent a car or you have to just like find a way to get to the outskirts to do interesting things. But if I'm like in a city, I will just endlessly walk all fucking day and just take it in. Because I'm like, I have nothing but time. Mm-hmm. And it's such a wonderful thing. Like, there is a little, like, road fatigue that you get sometimes when you're like, I don't want to make another choice of where to eat. I don't want to open Yelp again. I'm like, there's things like that. But I just think, like, I don't know, there's nothing better than traveling just to keep you, like, your mind open. Mm-hmm. So I think, yeah, I mean, if you're loving it, just stay in that mentality. Because there are nights when you will be like, especially, here's the thing, I travel a lot by myself because I don't have the money to bring an opener with me most of the time. And so, like, there are nights when I have a shitty gig and then I'm not in a terrible hotel that they put me in, and then I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? Why did you make all these choices to put yourself here? What have you done? You could have done anything. Like, and then there's other nights where I'm like, this is my hotel? Like, I just stayed in a place in Orlando. When I walked in, there was a princess bed with like the drapes on the side. And then I went into the bathroom and it had a giant freestanding tub in the middle of the floor.
Okay.
That was like literally so deep that I could get my entire body in perfectly comfortable. And I literally walked in, I was like, well, someone's taking a bath right there. And those are the nights when I'm like, yes, like this is great. Mm-hmm. And then there are other nights when I'm just like, this place smells weird. I'm going to keep all my clothes on when I sleep over top of the blanket. I'm kind of terrified right now. There's a bullet hole in the doorway. How did I fucking get here? Mm-hmm. So if you're, dude, just keep that mentality of just being positive about it, because honestly, even when the gig sucks, you are getting paid to travel. Mm-hmm. And most people have to pay money, and most people are never going to go to a place like Huntsville, Alabama, or Minnesota, just to do a gig. But now you get to go to a place that otherwise you wouldn't have been to. And I just think that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I love it. And I'm lucky getting to go with Matt, because we just get to, like, act like it's a vacation. Well, I'm acting like it's a vacation while he's stressing about ticket sales.
Right, of course, yeah. I've been the feature only a few times for certain people. Feature life is cush. It is so wonderful. Because you're like, I just gotta go up there for 20 minutes. They have no expectations of me. They don't know who I am. Everything's covered. And the headliner's just like freaking out, just like, like, I get it.
Oh my God. I'm gonna take that in as well. Just appreciate every step along the way.
Yeah, because normally when I do open for someone, they are at a status where like, oh yeah, everything's sold out for the weekend. Like, don't worry, I got all the food, everything else. I'm just happy that you're coming up here with me. This is gonna be fun. And I would love to get to that place with my openers. I'm just not there yet. And so like sometimes like I will like buy them like a meal or two or something like that. But I'm like, people ask me all the time, they're like, dude, I would love to go on the road with you. And I'm just like, are you ready to lose hundreds or thousands? Because your pay, they're not going to give you a hotel. Your pay is going to be absolute trash, like typically $100 a set. Mm-hmm. They're not going to pay for your travel. So what are you going to do? I just literally had a guy that was opening for me, and this is like just as I was in the city, and that's who was chosen to open for me. I didn't know him. And he goes, hey man, if you ever need someone to open for you in this area, I would love to. And just so you know, I have a Prius. We can sleep in my car.
Aww.
I was like, not the pitch you thought it was. Whenever that entered your brain, and came out of your mouth, there needed to be a filter somewhere around your nose that said, maybe this isn't as appetizing as it sounds when I'm thinking about it.
It comes from a very sweet place.
Totally.
But no.
I don't want to sleep in your fucking car when I'm on the road.
Also, it's kind of like talking, like a backhanded compliment. Like, you don't have a place to stay. You want to stay in my Prius?
Yeah, I'm just, no thanks. No. At this point, like, I mean, I had to stay recently. Like, they put me up in a Motel 6 because the club wasn't doing that well, and they were just like, look, if you want to, like, we'll pay for it, but that's what you get. Otherwise, it's an Airbnb that we have, but other people stay in it. And I was like, I you know what, just give me the Motel 6.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those situations where, like, I hadn't been in a Motel 6 in I don't know how many fucking years, but I walked in there and I was like, well, this will be a place just to sleep and nothing else. I will spend the rest of my day outside of here.
We just stayed in one like that, and it's like damp.
Yeah.
It's like the lighting is once again weird, and there's just like a dampness in the room.
Yeah, I had that in Miami once, and like honestly, like Miami, I walked in the hotel and I was like, wow, this is a beautiful lobby. And then I get to my room and there's literally like ants crawling across the desk. I was like, I don't want to be in here. Oh my God. At this point, like, it's funny, when I was on the road recently, I met up with Kyle Kinane, who has been a friend for many, many years, one of my favorite comics in the world, and he was playing a much bigger club in the city. This is in Phoenix, and they had him. He's like, this hotel, it's so bougie, like it's lame, like I feel like it's a nightclub. He's like, where are you? And I was like, Holiday Inn Express, and he was like, oh, what I wouldn't do for a Holiday Inn Express. He's like, they serve breakfast? I was like, yeah, they serve breakfast. He's like, oh my God, I miss those days. I was like, yeah, sometimes like that's all you need. If the room is clean and it's just like, and it's what you got. I love a good hotel breakfast. I don't eat breakfast when I'm home, but when I'm on the road, I will wake up at 7:30 a.m. and I will go attack that breakfast bar. Just like, okay, here we go.
We look for Holiday Inn Expresses because of the breakfast.
Yeah! Just like, give me a Holiday Inn Express. I'm staying at a Wyndham next week, which I was like, great. Wyndham Resorts, baby. Put me in, coach. Anything like that. A Hampton, I'm totally okay with it. Spring Hill Suites.
Yeah, that was our last hotel we stayed in. We're like, we gotta wake up. I was like, wake up, we're gonna miss breakfast.
Yeah, I will literally wake up and then go back to sleep. I'll go pound it out and go back to sleep. So I'm like, oh my God, they have Fruit Loops and Cocoa Puffs. I'm getting both.
It's so fun.
I turned into a 6-year-old kid. I'm just like by myself and I actually see families and I'm just like, I'm more excited than the kids are for what we're about to eat.
It's like the beginning of feeling that you're going to Disneyland, but you're going nowhere after breakfast.
Yep, exactly right. Yeah, because then I just go right back to my hotel, and I'm like, well, back to my room. All right, that's fine. What do I do for the next 9 hours before I have a show? That's kind of like, sometimes it's really, you're in a place where it is endless activities that you can figure out what to do. And other times you're in a place, like I have literally been out so far in the suburbs away from anything that I go, what the fuck do I do here? I can write for maybe an hour or two a day when I'm on the road. I can always exercise, but even still, I'm missing like 7 more hours that I need to figure something out. And sometimes that is really tough. Like, you need to be mentally strong to just really stay with it and not let it all get to you.
Mm-hmm. It's like you're kind of in, what is it called when you're put in a room by yourself?
Solitary confinement.
Yeah, you're like solitary confinement.
Yeah, I've definitely had gigs where I felt that way. I mean, there was a gig I did, my first like real headlining weekend, where I was like traveling for it was in, or no, I had a couple before that, but like I remember this one, I did a full week in Calgary, and the owner goes, hey, so normally our condo's right downtown next to the club. I was like, great. And he goes, but it's being renovated. So we have you in this other condo. It's 25 miles outside the city. It's quiet. It's serene. You're going to love it. And I was like, no, I won't. Yeah. That's exactly what I don't want. I'm in a neighborhood with, I don't know anybody. Like, I walk out of the house, people are walking their dogs, they're just like, who the fuck is this child? Like, I feel weird.
Yeah.
Now I have to figure out your Netflix path, all this. I'm like, oh my gosh, how many other weird comics have stayed in this thing? I don't know how clean it is. Like, I only imagine when I'm in a hotel, I know terrible things have happened in that room. I understand that remote has been in buttholes. I understand people have fucked in positions that I've never even considered. I get that. But I also think that they are doing a very good job cleaning it every single time. When you're in a comedy condo, I'm like, who fucking knows what filth has entered these walls?
You don't want to know.
No, I don't want to know. I really don't want to know, because I've heard the horror stories of the 80s and things like that, and some of those condos were still around then. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I watched that documentary, I forgot what it was on, but about like road comics or something, and they...
Oh, I Am Road Comic?
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
And they talk about how nasty the places they had to stay were.
Yeah, I remember Nikki Glazer's in it, right? And she's talking about the comedy condo life. And those are kind of slowly going away, like, with time. Like, nowadays I very rarely stay in these. However, if you ever get a chance to play Denver Comedy Works, the downtown one, best fucking condo you could ever stay in.
All right.
It's like it's over $1 million apartment that, like, you walk in, it's huge. It's in this high-rise building. It has an actual old school video game machine.
Cool.
It is incredible.
Okay, Matt, we gotta go.
Yeah, that's one where, like, I'm like I beg them to, like, put me back in. Like, please, please.
All right, good. I stayed at only one, and it was Zany Chicago.
Okay, how was that?
It was really clean. It was just like a studio apartment,
okay,
but very, like, well designed and clean, and all you could ask for.
Nice.
Although there was a weird thing.
What?
Always a weird thing.
Always a weird thing.
The towels smelled like cigarettes.
What?
I don't know why, and Matt thought the same. They had a washer and dryer in there too. I don't know how that happened. If maybe the cleaning person was like just smoking and folding.
Weird.
It was weird.
Yeah, I don't know how that is. I don't know how that happens. The first one, I remember the first one I ever stayed in. I was playing the Tempe Improv, and I was featuring, and the headliner was staying at a hotel, but they were like, hey, we have this condo. It's in the dorms at ASU. Now, at the time, I'm 30 years old, and I'm thinking, well, I'm a party dude. Like, hell yeah, I'll be in the dorms at ASU. I hear this school fucking rules. I didn't even think about it until I got there. Yes, this is a party school, but you're the stranger now that's 30 years old in the dorms that no one has ever seen before. You're not just going to get invited to a party. Are they, like, I was delusional. Like, they were like, get this person as far away from me as possible. It was... No. Yeah, I just felt like, okay, I really wish I wasn't here right now. Yeah.
Especially, like, college kids. Those are the most intimidating people ever.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I mean, just because I was that, I spent years in college, and I was that judgmental person that, like, I was like, oh, what are you, 30? Ew, gross. I'm never going to be that old. You just think you're invincible back then.
Yeah, and we're not.
Nope. You think you're the coolest person ever, that you know everything, and that everything's going to work out for you. And and then a global pandemic happens, and you're like, what do you mean there's no jobs? Why can't I buy a house? What's going on with inflation? The world's warming up. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, the planet's fucked.
And then you realize all of even the smaller things that your mom told you were all right.
Yeah, like what? What are you thinking about?
Let's think, where to start. What was one thing? Oh, well, she always told me as a kid not to hold my pee, and I always held my pee. I always do the dance, and now my bladder's all fucked up.
Really?
I have an overactive bladder, and I pee myself all the time.
Huh.
Don't know if it was from that, but that was one.
Are you a person who, like, you giggle and then a little bit comes out?
Depends on if I had to go at that moment.
Okay.
But it's usually like, it's like the bladder commercial where it's gotta go right now.
Yeah.
It goes from like, it goes from like a 0 to a I'm pissing myself, and I'm like, ah!
I mean, look, you brought that up, so I'll be vulnerable for a moment here. I was on a run like 8 months ago, and suddenly the coffee I drank earlier hit really weird. I was nowhere near a bathroom. I was going through West Hollywood, and I was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I tried to run into the Whole Foods that was on, and as soon as I got in there, part of it just released. And I got to the bathroom, and it literally, I came home, I threw my underwear out in the Whole Foods. I just threw it out. Because I hadn't done that in God knows how many fucking years. Like, I think I was probably like my entire adult life. I had somehow made it through, skirted without shitting myself. And then I'm on a run and just like, yup, that's where I lose it. Somewhere, whoever was taking out the trash in that Whole Foods that day, I'm so sorry. It was not what I intended. Obviously, it was marked up because it was Whole Foods.
Oh, yeah.
But
you know what? I've been to that Whole Foods. Was it the one here
on Fairfax and Santa Monica, yeah.
They've seen worse. I've used that restroom many times. I've used every restroom.
Yeah, I guess if you have an overactive bladder, you're constantly just like on alert, like I gotta know where the bathrooms are.
I know the codes by heart. I got them all down.
Yeah, I mean that's important. Like, yeah, that'd be so funny. You just have a Google Doc in your phone and just like, oh, this Starbucks 38521. Okay, great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I actually made a comedy reel back when I was making those about having a coffee before running, because that is real. And tons of people would comment like, that's happened to me, that's normal. Oh, and then one guy was like in the military, that happens to them a bunch. And I'm like, damn.
I'm not surprised. I mean, somehow, I guess I'm very strong in that area that I just am able to hold it in, because a lot of times, like, I will drink a pot of coffee and then go play 3 sets of tennis, and I'm fine. Like, when I'm, like, exercising a lot, it comes out, like, I burp a lot, I fart a lot, but actual solids and liquids do not leave my body in any way unless intended.
You're a lucky soul.
I guess. Now I'm saying that, and I swear to God, I'm gonna shit myself tomorrow on a jet ski with my father-in-law as he's hugging me from behind, making me drive, and we're gonna hit one weird ocean wave, and all of a sudden he's just gonna be like, "What is that?" I'm like, I just love you so much, Art."
I think it was a fish.
Yeah, nothing weird going on here. I am gonna throw my bathing suit into the ocean and leave it there.
Oh, I've been jet skiing a bunch in Florida, but out here I've never been.
I've done it in San Diego. I've never done it. We're going to like Marina Del Rey. I've never done it. I've done it like in the Bay in San Diego, like where SeaWorld is and stuff like that. You know, just flip yourself over an orca every once in a while. But I've never done it out here. But my father-in-law's visiting, and they rented a boat the other day while I was still in Florida, and then he saw the jet skis and was like, "Oh, when Alex gets back, we're gonna go jet skiing." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, cool."
That'll be fun.
Yeah, jet skiing is one of those things where, a solid hour, it's great.
That's all you need.
Yeah, we did 2 hours at my friend's bachelor party a couple of years ago, and like after an hour, you're like, I'm kind of done.
Yeah.
Like I did it. Now my thumb hurts like from just throttling.
That's one of the things that's nice when it's like somebody, then you could just put it ashore, so you like go out on a loop and then come back, then you could just like go out later.
That's the ideal way to do it. Not just dropping $300 to like make you ride in a circle for 2 hours.
It'll be fun though. That's another thing like that. I'm very present when I'm on any water, like boat or jet ski, and the air and the wind. It just like I feel alive.
Yeah.
It feels so good. I love being on the water.
You need those moments where everything else kind of falls away. You're not stressed. You're not thinking about your career, your finances, the fact that you have to go to the bathroom again and there's no bathroom anywhere near this boat, and you're like, how am I going to go off the side of it without anyone noticing? You need those little moments just to like bring you back into yourself, and I just think it's really important to just find those, especially if you're going to start doing the road a lot. And you're lucky. You're going with Maddie, which, having a partner on the road with you does make things easier because no matter what, you are together. Mm-hmm. One of my old road dogs used to be Harry Moros, who doesn't live here anymore. He moved to Michigan. But him and I had the very early days of me doing the road headlining, he would come with me, and it was just gnarly shit. There was a time when we went to Rosarito, Mexico for 2 nights to do shows. And we get there, and the guy promised us, he's like, okay, we're going to pay you this much per show, and then we're going to get you an Airbnb. And Mary and I were like, cool, we're going to go do shows in Mexico. The dude didn't book the Airbnb.
Oh, no.
So we stay at his house. There are 4 dogs in this house, and huge dogs, and it's not clean. And on top of that, we are staying literally on a giant mattress on the floor together in the same bed. And there was this dog hair all over it. And Harry and I were practically like holding each other. Just like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this together, buddy. Like, I'm so glad you're here with me. And he's just like, fuck you, dude. And what are we doing right now? Because it starts magical. You're like, we're in the ocean in Mexico. We're gonna do shows. And then you're like, oh, you didn't get the Airbnb? What's gonna happen now? Like, those are the kind of stories that stick with you. You know?
That's what I was gonna say. You'll never forget that.
No, Barbara Gray, when I were on a tour once, like through like the southeast, doing like Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee. And we stayed at a comic's house who was very kind and was like, yeah, you guys can stay at my place. And we were very poor, you know, young comics. And we're like, cool, that's great. And then we got there and he's like, this is where you'll be sleeping. And there's a couch and his dog is just scratching incessantly. He's like, sorry, my dog's got fleas.
Oh!
I was like, but that's where we're sleeping.
No.
But no. Like,
no.
And you just like, you know, Barbara and I just look at each other like, we're in this together.
Yep.
We made these choices. Here we go. Okay. I have a standard now. I will not just stay in somebody's place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, I can't like degrade myself when I'm on the road just to do a show. I just won't do that anymore.
It's not worth it.
No.
And also, it's not like the energy that you want to like. You want to feel like I'm growing. I'm like, this is like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, you know, good vibes is the only way I can say it. But when you're in those situations, I mean, you get like the fighter mentality of like, all right, gotta get better. But nothing feels better than having the nice hotel. And like, that makes me like take it in and think like, I got this.
Yeah, well, I think as a young comic, I didn't respect myself, and not that like I didn't love myself, because in many ways, I mean, I learned how to do that over the years. But I was just like, it doesn't matter. This is part of it. This is part of like the gnarly fight that you're going through, and you're just gonna laugh about this later. And you get to a certain point where you're like, I don't want to stay on a couch with fleas. No, I deserve better than this, and I don't want to completely deplete myself of all of my internal resources while I'm traveling. Traveling takes enough out of you anyway. Mm-hmm. And when you're meeting all these people on the road, you're doing meet and greets after shows, you're selling merch, you're just like figuring out what to do during the day, you're like, you know, in a different time zone, all of those things start to add up. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not good to yourself, then you are going to quickly crash and burn.
Yeah, I got sick twice already from the road.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, like lost my voice, got a sinus infection, and I'm just like, the airplane travel, like really, I'm like, I have to just learn to like zinc and tea and just all the things I need to
hand
doing.
sanitizer is super important when you're doing meet and greets. I don't party really on the road anymore. Like I used to be like, what? Okay, who's drinking? Who's smoking? Who's got powder? Who's got this? Who's got that? And then I realized I would literally come back from a week on the road and I would walk back into my home and my wife would be like, oh, you're back. I'd be like, I'm back. What the fuck did you do to yourself out there? I was like, I had a couple late nights and if you listen to my second album, I recorded my second album after 2 weeks on the road. And I was being good to myself. I wasn't smoking, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't doing anything. But 2 straight weeks on the road in a different city pretty much every single night to get ready to have this album recorded. I sound awful. My voice is in a place where it is kind of like this. Like, and I listen to that and I'm like, that's not my real voice. Like, that is just a terrible copy impression of what I actually sound like. I mean, I have a pretty gnarly voice anyway, but when I listen to that, I'm like, whoa. What did I do to myself before that?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's why I'm about to record a new special in January.
Yeah.
And I'm doing one show a couple days before to the last one leading up, but I am not planning this whole epic run to get to it, to perfect it. Like, I'm just using these shows on the road to get it to where it needs to be, and then trusting myself that I know what I need to do when I'm there.
Yeah, that's smart. I'm going to remember what you said, so I never do that as well.
Yeah, but like, there's times when and you're like, well, it seems like it's going to be really great. But
Yeah.
then, you know, honestly, like a couple beers and then a long day of driving, and suddenly you show up and you're like, oh, I have to do an hour every night, sometimes 2 hours in a night.
Mm-hmm.
That does take a toll on your instrument.
It has to.
You know, and if you're not, you know, it's like you're not tuning it, basically. You're throwing poison down there. You're playing without a reed.
I played the oboe. Double reed. What's up,
Double
guys?
reed! That's literary as fuck. Well read.
Yeah. Where are you going to film your special?
Funny enough, in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Okay.
I have a friend who had been a friend since I started comedy. He was at my first show ever. And he lives in Connecticut with his family, and they have a beautiful house, 2 kids, and he was like, I want to produce this special with you. Like, I want to make it happen. And he has all, like, the teams out there to do it. We went out there and scouted locations, found this beautiful 180-seat theater called the Bijou Theater. No one's ever shot a comedy special in there, but it looks like it is so ready for it. Like, we walked in, and the director of photography, him, the producer, director, and myself, we walked in, and every one of us went, whoa. Okay, this is different. This is special. This is going to be really, really good. And it's got room for everything. And because we're shooting in Connecticut, it's just way cheaper than doing it in Los Angeles. Like, we're getting crew for like half the price. And it's not like we're, you know, just cheating them out of money. Just out there, it costs less. So, yeah, I'm very fortunate that, like, he's putting these teams together, and he really wants to make this something that we will both be super proud of. And, yeah, I'd never even been to Bridgeport before we went there. I have no connection to it whatsoever. But I also wanted to shoot in a place where I wouldn't have a bunch of people that I knew there. That was important to me. I did my first album in LA at Meltdown. May it rest in peace.
I know, I was so sad.
Yeah, I was like the last album to record in there. And it was great, but it was 100 people I knew, essentially, there. Which for your first album, it's celebratory. They were all on my side. I don't want people to be on my side at this one. I want them to know that they're showing up for a special, but that maybe they know who I am a little bit, maybe they don't. But here I am, here we go, and it's my time to impress you and show you what I can do. Not have, no matter what, we're gonna laugh for it, right, everybody? Okay, cool. Like, I'm proud of my other albums and everything, but now I'm like, nobody will know who I am. My first album is so, like, raucous, and you can just hear the people screaming. My second album, those people didn't know who I was. And honestly, I'm kind of happy about that. I'm kind of cool with it. It's much quieter. You know, they weren't as, like, just going crazy for me. But it was still really good shows, and they made me work a little bit for them, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, man, I'm excited. That's soon.
I know.
The year before you know it.
Yeah, it's a little over 2 months away,
Okay.
so here we go.
Matt's from Connecticut, so you have to send us all the info, or I'll find it online so he can blast the people he knows out there.
Oh, good to know. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I mean, we're selling tickets. I didn't want to make a free show, because if it's a free show, people decide not to go last minute. Like, we didn't pay for this. But we're selling tickets as low as $10 for general admission, just to get people in there. And yeah, I think it's going to be really, really fun. We have some cool ideas to make it different. You know, at this point, everyone's putting out specials, which, you know, good. We should be. But it's not like it used to be where, like, there'd be, like, a few every year. Now people are just like, do another one, do another one, do another one, do another one. Like, comics that are, like, 3 years in, they're like, I think I should do a special. I'm like, should you? Okay.
It's the first time it's ever been like that. And I feel like I've been trying to get more of, like, the opposite, where I'm always, like, I'm too, not patient, but too, like, apprehensive to, like, feel like I don't know. Like, I would never shoot a special now. I'm 10 years in, and I just started featuring.
Yeah.
But everyone has their own paths. But
for sure, but I think the issue with it now is you can become a headliner overnight because something goes viral.
Yes.
Now, like, does that mean that you should be out there selling tickets for you to do an hour? Probably not. But if you can sell the tickets, the clubs are like, okay, come on in.
Yeah.
We'll host you.
It's very true.
I think you're doing it the right way, because, like, look, a lot of those comics, it's sink or swim if you get famous way too early, or you suddenly have a fan base way too early. Because if they see you, they might see you once. but they might not want to come back again. Whereas opposed to you, you're growing and you're building something, and by the time you do release something as epic as like an hour of comedy, if you go that route, you're going to be ready for it, and they're gonna be like, whoa. Okay, like that's someone we need to pay attention to. What's she gonna do next? And unfortunately, because of our times, they're gonna be like, "Do you have something tomorrow that I can watch? Do you have another hour ready right now?" Like everything is they want it so immediate. Mm-hmm. No one's rewatching anything. It's just literally, okay, we watched that, great. Put on something else right now. Don't even make popcorn in the middle of it. Like just immediately get that out of my brain and now on to the next thing. It's I've always taken time to build things. I did my first album at 8 years. I did my second one at 12. And I'll do this one just before I hit 15. Like this special. I've released a lot of other stuff in between, a lot of other projects. But as far as like an hour of comedy goes, I waited until I had these markers that I felt like they were good and developed. And I think now I'm probably going to go a little faster because I'm in this create it, release it, not give a fuck moment. And I'm just throwing shit out there. Not that I'm not developing it further, but I just think it's good just to put it out there. Everything that we put out there can be consumed at this point at a rapid pace. So if you're putting out, what do you do, an episode a week on this podcast? Right, one a week. If all of a sudden you gave into the demand, they'd be like, no, we want 2 a week. We want 3 a week. You would drive yourself fucking insane.
I already am.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It is. But, consistency of releasing something and giving something to people is good. Because I used to be very much like, no, hold on to everything. Don't show them clips. Don't do anything. Well, I'm behind in the race because of that. This young generation of comics that does not have any shame whatsoever because they've grown up on their phones, they could care less about releasing material. Yeah. And all of a sudden, something skyrockets, and next thing you know, they're a headliner. Like, it just didn't used to be that way, and I'm like, great. I'm not going to be the dinosaur that's like, in my day, 10 years ago, because I refuse. Part of comedy is adaptation. You need to adapt with the times. But there is such a thing as getting what you want too early, and then not being able to keep up with what it is because you're just not ready yet.
Very true. Well, I think just like, you shouldn't be doing a special, in my eyes, if you're not doing what you're doing, if you're not touring and trying it out. Like, you have to go on the road and work these jokes out to do a special. You don't just do a special.
Yeah. There are so many people that I'm like, I see never leave LA, and then they're just like, and they're recording something, which, look, to each his own. I'm not shitting on anybody for their process, but I'm like, you don't know if these jokes work in Bridgeport, Connecticut, in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, in Huntsville, Alabama. You don't know. Because you didn't leave enough. I will go anywhere. Like, I know my jokes work in Alaska, and I know they work in Florida. And then I also know that they work in LA, and they work in Texas. Like, I've been all over the fucking map. I want to perform in every single state. I think I'm at like 30, low 30s or something like that. That's a lot. So I want to do every single state. And just so that I have a gauge of like, I've been to each one and I've performed,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like I'll know, I'll know when the time is right to do a special. It's when I'm on the road and when I feel like I have an hour that I've fully worked out. And that's when that will come.
Yeah, when you get sick of it, when you're like, I don't want to tell this joke anymore. Great. Perfect time to drop it and release it as a special. And you will have that moment. Like right now, you're probably doing, 20, 25 when you go out. Great. Well, you're going to build that 20 and you're going to get sick of it. And then you're going to build another 20, 25 and get sick of it. And guess what? You're already pretty much in that hour-long range where throw in a couple other bits and a little bit of crowd work or whatever, and you got yourself a fucking solid hour. But it's good to just, give them stuff now. But for a big thing, really let it develop because people will judge you on it and not come back if it's not if it's not to their expectations. It's the problem. I think part of the problem with today is because content is absolutely everywhere and abundant. The second you do something, they go, "Oh, I don't like Mandy anymore. I didn't like that thing she just put out. I've liked it for 2 years, but honestly, that was not good. I'm gonna move on to the next person. I'll go to Alex now." And then as soon as I do something, you're gonna be like, "Never mind. I don't like him either. Okay, who else can I find?" they'll drop you. You got to find fans that latch onto you and they align with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that are going to stick with you and will let you fail and grow.
Mm-hmm. That's who you want.
Yeah.
I was late to the game with posting as well because I was so, like, resistant. I was like, I don't want these jokes. I don't. It's like a mix of, like, I don't have good tapes of them. The joke's not there yet. Always feeling that way. Or these are my favorite jokes, I want to post it, so I never posted anything.
Yeah.
And then I had Jamie Kennedy on. I texted him the other day, like, thanks for forcing me to do that. And I was like, I don't really have, like, any followers. And he's like, do you post? I'm like, no. And he's like, you have to post.
Right.
He's like, just throw it all on up there. Just do it. So then I started posting since that episode. Now we're at, like, God, I posted every day for almost 4 months.
Great. Yeah, that's amazing.
But it's just like, it feels sometimes, I got over it at first, it felt icky. Now I'm like, whatever, but...
You have to feel whatever. It is whatever because, look, people, they do need to keep seeing you. And the thing is, if a clip, or like, if you're talking about, are you talking about stand-up on the podcast right now?
Stand-up.
Stand-up. Okay, if you're talking about your stand-up, if a joke is great and they like it, they're not going to be unhappy when they hear it again. Mm-hmm. It's like when you hear a great song, you don't go, well, I never want to hear that song again. Because they're not going to remember exactly how it goes, especially if you're doing like a 45 to a 90-second bit. They're going to like, oh, right. This is the time when Mandy peed a little bit when she was on a boat. But I don't remember how it goes. And then the punchline hits, they go, that's what it is. And then they hear it again. So it's never a bad... I agree with Jamie on that one, where I held on too tightly for too long. And now I just had a clip like go viral that I posted a year ago.
Really?
That did nothing a year ago. And I was like suddenly, and that's because somebody told me, they're like, dude, if a post does really well, or if it doesn't do well, 2 months later, just post it again. Mm-hmm. Just post that same clip. You don't need to keep clip farming all the time, because that's what you're seeing is like, we're doing shows and you're like, I just need to get this one fucking moment in here that's brand new. Well, then you're not letting anything actually marinate that could be into something more. So instead, I have like a series of clips where I'm like, those are great. Those are jokes that I want to put out there. And I'll see what it does this time, and then I'll just post it again in 2 or 3 months. Mm-hmm. And I just started doing that, and suddenly I'm seeing a return. Like, dude, I'm posting clips right now where I don't have a mustache, I don't have any facial hair, I'm wearing t-shirts, like no kimonos or anything. I'm posting old shit. You know who cares? Fucking no one. No one. Because they haven't seen it. Mm-hmm. I assume, I'm like, but I put that album out years ago. Like, that doesn't mean the whole internet listened to it. So put it out.
That's great. You have all the stuff. So wait, your first special was eight years in. When did you get America's Got Talent? Was that before or after the first?
That was right. So I recorded America's Got Talent right before I did my first album. It was, because my first album was just audio, or my first 2 were audio only. Then I released like this documentary from London where it has me doing stand-up all over London, but not really even a special. This is really my first like legit special. America's Got Talent came about 8 years in. I had just done Roast Battle on Comedy Central, the first 2 seasons of that. Yeah, so that's how I got to America's Got Talent. And then... that just was, that 2018 was a crazy year for me. It started, I put out a calendar of my pug and I doing yoga together, shot by Troy Conrad, a brilliant photographer. And we were at a music festival together. He was shooting me at this music festival, and I was like, I told him this idea about my pug and I doing yoga. He's like, this is hilarious. I want to shoot it. Let's do it. The year started with me being, my calendar made it to the Ellen show.
What? I didn't know that either.
No, a lot of people, like, we haven't known each other that long. So, like, we're talking about something that happened 5 years ago. Like, almost 6. And so, the second day of January, she posts my calendar on her show. She was like, I am blown up with me and my dog, like, on the show. And she's, like, talking about this crazy calendar you can buy called Pug Yoga. We sell out immediately. My album comes out 2 months after that, in March. And then I got America's Got Talent 2 months or that's also in March, that came out in June. So 2018, I was fucking rocking. Like, everything I was doing was like, go. And, you try to ride that wave as much as you can, but I didn't really know what to do with all of that exposure.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of just in a different mindset of, I'm just having fun. I'm throwing party shows. Like, I'm doing all this crazy, all like warehouse parties with fire spinners and DJs and comics. And now I'm making pug yoga calendars. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I didn't harness that as much as I probably could have. I don't beat myself up over it or anything, but that level of exposure that I got from America's Got Talent, I just wasn't ready for it. I didn't know it was coming. Like, I just thought, okay, I'm going to do this show, and it probably will just never even get to air. I just assumed it would never be seen, because I've had so many things that I filmed, and then they've just fallen apart somewhere in the post process, or I was cut out of it. So many things. Yeah. So I just didn't expect anything. I didn't expect it to hit the internet and all of a sudden it's like the most viral thing. And at the time, I hated social media. I barely did anything with it. So I don't know what to do. Yeah. It's a different, if that happened to me now, I would play it so much better. But, you just deal with it how you can.
And social media was very different. Even though it wasn't that long ago, it was very different back then.
Even 3 years ago, you would never open your phone and there would just be a comedian doing a bit.
No.
Like, that was not a thing. And that's why I think a lot of comics, like, in my generation, which, are about to hit, like, our 15-year marks, anywhere from, like, 10 to 15, we didn't know this was going to be a thing when we started. And it changed so much so quickly that I think a lot of people have trouble kind of breaking into this new format of like posting all your clips and stuff like that. It's just a different thing that I wasn't signing up for. And I think you hear that a lot from comedians like that are older. They're like, I didn't get into this to be a video editor and a marketer and all these other things. Okay, I agree with you. I didn't either, but we have to now. Mm-hmm. When I'm on the road and my ticket sales fucking suck, and I see somebody that's like brand new, that's somebody on the road this weekend, and there was another club in the city. I won't say any names or anything. They were 1 year in, they sold out the room. Okay? I was literally dealing with 45 people on the other side of town. And was my show better? I can confidently say yes without even seeing theirs.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, my material has substance. I know who I am. All of those things. But that guy sold 300 tickets.
Fuck!
A year in. Because he was already an internet personality before he decided to hit comedy clubs. I do think, like, I was talking about this with Joe Abusakar and Omid Singh the other day, and we were all agreeing, like, the cream will rise to the top.
I agree.
But you have to keep playing whatever game is being introduced, and you can't be the person that just doesn't want to do it.
You can't. You have to.
As hard as it is for me to sell myself sometimes, I have to do it in a way. Like, okay, so you know how I do, like, your daily lollipop on Instagram? That literally came from me hating social media and not wanting to do it anymore. And I said, how could I do a post almost every day in a way that is me, but isn't just making me, like, watch every single set for that one weird 20-second moment when something happened and a glass broke and I responded. So then I started doing that, and suddenly I didn't hate social media as much anymore.
Yeah, you have to find what works for you and what makes you not feel like you're not being yourself. Or like you're taking away, not lowering your standards, but like just taking I guess maybe lowering your standards or...
I mean, I think it's not lowering your standards as much as it is just like accepting that this is part of the job now. Yeah. So how do you do it in a way that makes you feel whole and complete and doesn't take away soul points from you?
Yeah, that's worded way better.
I appreciate it. I tried.
That's what I was trying to say.
I mean, I think about this all the time because it does bother me because I'm like, why isn't my following up here? If it was, then everything would just be easier. Sure it would.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I have to accept that and just continually try to grow it in a way that doesn't suck the fucking life out of me. And that's, you got to find your own way to do that. For me, it was doing the Daily Lollipop, and for someone else, it might just be, I'm just gonna like go live on Instagram every single day. I'm gonna do a podcast like this, whatever it is. Like, just find a way that works for you, because you do need to put stuff out, but it doesn't need to be constant fucking stand-up. And I think this trend of posting a massive amount of clips all the time will have a shelf life, because I think people are going to get tired of it.
They have to. There's so many.
You're supposed to choose when you want to watch comedy. You're not supposed to open your phone and then, here it is, stand-up comedy. Like, just as soon as you open it, like, whoa, like, okay, I want to go to a show. I know people that are like, oh, I don't even go to shows anymore because everything's on the internet. I can just watch YouTube specials.
There's probably a lot of that.
There is a lot of that. And I'm like, do you know what it's like to be in the room? I've always been a live experience person. I go to concerts, I go to festivals, I go to comedy shows, I go to sporting events, whatever it is. The energy in a place cannot be replicated in a recording.
No.
It just can't. And so the people that say things like that, okay, I get if you have some, autoimmune disorder and you can't leave the house and be surrounded by hundreds of people or whatever, that's great for you. But for active, able-bodied people who should be experiencing live things, that's how you enrich your soul.
And the vibe in the room, too. When you walk into a comedy club, there's the chaos in the beginning, and then it just, Even when you watch a great stand-up special, you're like, imagine what it would have been like to be there.
Yeah, if you get me to laugh while I'm watching your special, you did something fucking amazing there. Now, live, I'll laugh at you the whole fucking time. For a straight hour, I will be cracking up. But actually here, and that's why I don't know when the last time you listened to a stand-up album was. Like, when you're in the car, driving to somewhere, you have an hour-long drive. Let me put on this album from a comedian that I love that I haven't listened to in forever. Because then it is like you're in the club with them. There's something about me sitting on my couch, and maybe it's because I am a comedian, but I'm sitting on my couch. I don't need to watch this. I know I'll see at some point, I'll see you in a club one day, and that's when I want to see you. But an album, I don't know. There's something about it when I have to do the work of imagining what's going on. It's so much better.
I do agree. I listen to a lot of comedy on Spotify and in my car, and I do laugh more. I never thought about it until you said that. Then on the couch.
Yeah, well, and on the couch, we're you're watching, but you're also like, hang on, let me flip through this real quick. There's just so many other things that are, distracting you. But when you're driving, you're kind of focused, but kind of not. And so something like that, that's when I listen to albums. I'm like, oh, I got a 6-hour drive. I'm going to queue up a few of these. And just in between music, in between podcasts, let me put a couple fucking classic stand-up albums in there.
Do you have a favorite? That's a hard question.
That's a really hard question. I love listening to Hedberg stuff. I love listening to Jesselnick. Doug Stanhope, for sure. I'll go into classic Carlin albums that, I wasn't around even when they came out. I really, I'll pick a comic and I'll think about, Brian Regan is another one.
Yeah.
I'm just you've put out so much work and I don't know most of it. So let me just throw it on, and then I find myself in the car just cracking up. But also, it also encourages me to write a little differently. I'm like, well, listen to how he's doing it. I'm not going to copy their style, because at this point I do have my own style. But I will allow it to influence me into writing a different way, or stretching a bit further, or taking a moment that is so mundane and then being like, oh, I could write that into a bit. I just didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
So, and that's sometimes when you listen to those, especially older comedy that was less personal, you're like, I would have never thought to turn that into anything, and you just did 14 minutes. Incredible.
Yeah. It does teach you just stretch things. I was talking to my mom about the other day, because we like to talk out jokes, and I was like, I need to just stay in this topic and keep pooling. Because it's so easy to run and just be like, nah, and then just go to a different joke. Or but I'm like, stay in the pocket. There's tons there.
How long do you think your average joke is? A bit?
I think my longest one, well, my bladder one's really long, but
Which is funny because it's really short in real life, so.
Yeah. Goes quick. So...
Put that on streaming. Anyway.
Oh, hey!
Anyway, so back to the question.
I'd say average joke, a minute.
Okay.
My favorite length of a joke, 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The 3-minute joke is, I want them all to be 3 minutes.
Yeah, I love that.
It just feels good about. I don't know what that mark feels great.
I agree. Yeah, I find that I was at 90 seconds for a very long time in my career, and now I stay on a topic for usually a few minutes. Like usually it's somewhere between 3 and 5. The longest thing I think I ever did was like 12.
Oh, wow.
But like that's really like, but then there are, what I do is I just take like right now, obviously I'm doing a lot of cancer material because I had cancer, if you didn't know that. But like all of that, there's a lot of different iterations and parts of the bit, but it's not all one bit. The longest part of it is probably about 6 or 7 minutes, but it keeps jumping from like, okay, so when I had to go through chemotherapy, I was thinking about this. When I found out my diagnosis, it was this. Those aren't the same bit, but it's all part of the same broad topic. And I think within that, there is like probably the longest is like 6 or 7 minutes, which is my medical bills chunk.
Oh God.
Yeah, most people have only seen very like select pieces of that because that one did pretty well when it hit the internet. But nobody knows how, unless you've seen it recently, how long and thorough it actually is because there's so much gold to mine out of something like that. But like you, I run away from it. I'm like, there, I got it. That's enough. I'll move on to another topic now in case they get bored. But honestly, some of the best comedy like we see is like, wow, they went in there for 23 minutes and just fucking ripped that entire subject to shreds.
Yeah.
It's so cool when you see that.
It really is.
Yeah, that's like a Jim Jeffries style thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you really went in there. Carlin, too. Like, like you were, you just talked about an airplane for a half an hour. You didn't just have an airplane bit. You dissected a fucking airplane.
They really go for it. Okay, I know you have family in town. I feel like, oh my gosh, they didn't even get into this in the other segment. It doesn't matter because it was so many great things we talked about.
I know. No embarrassing stories. Wiener of the week, right?
Do you have a wiener?
I actually do have a wiener.
Okay, I want to hear.
Just because I thought about this because you were asking, my wiener of the week. When I arrived in Orlando on the plane, we had to taxi for 20 minutes because we arrived a half an hour early. And the person behind me was like, oh, God, United fucking sucks. I hate this. It's so fucking stupid. The woman next to him was like, yeah, I have to go to the bathroom. He goes, just go. She's like, they'll yell at me. He goes, who cares? I've done it before. They gotta yell at you. It doesn't matter. And I was just like, I'm sitting in the seat right in front of him just thinking like, oh my God, this person, Jesus Christ. So she goes suddenly like 5 minutes later go by and she goes, I don't know when I'm going to be able to pee. And he goes, don't worry, I'll go with you. They walk to the back of the plane, immediately get talked to over the intercom. We told everyone to stay in their seats. Get back to the seats. Finally the plane lands and people start, pulls into the jetway and people start standing up. As people do. And now, I'm not a person who ever runs to the front of the plane, but if I'm in the aisle seat, I will stand up and stretch. And people start doing that. He goes, look at these fucking idiots. You're not going anywhere. Why are people standing? And I stood up to stretch, and I just hear him go, do you want a back massage, sir? I didn't do anything. And he turned, sir, do you want a back massage? And I turned around and just went, you are drunk, and you are loud. And you've been annoying as shit for the past 20 minutes. No. And then I just turned around. Don't know what happened immediately after that because I did not turn around again. It was the most calm I could have been in that situation. I was like, do I roast this guy? No. Just tell him exactly what the facts are. You're drunk and you're loud and you're annoying. I go to the bathroom when I get off the plane. He's coming in as I'm going out. And he goes, oh, look who it is, the crying little bitch. And I just went, excuse me? And he goes, what are you going to do about it? And I just went, nothing, because I don't fight children. That's it. And I walked out. And honestly, I couldn't stop thinking about all the things I could have said to him to really eviscerate him. But I also just thought, it's not worth it.
Uh-uh.
This is a person who, I know who this person is.
Yeah.
They don't get attention enough in their life.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have enough love in their life. They don't love themselves enough.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to be this over-the-top, egregious character that is loud and that always needs to talk to other people and things like that. And I used to be that person. I did. And I learned how to get over it through years of daily practice of self-love. And when I see that, I just feel bad for the person. I didn't want to interact with them, but they forced me to. So that is my wiener of the week. Guy in Orlando that has zero love in his life. And yeah.
That is such a good wiener. And no, I think you handled it perfectly. Because that is not what he wanted you to do.
Definitely not. No, he wanted me to play along with him.
Yeah.
And like, honestly... look, I'm a very playful and silly person. But if I just landed on a plane and you're being loud as shit and you're the only one on the plane, no one else on this plane is talking.
Yeah.
Nobody. We're all just minding our own business. Then yeah.
Oh my God. Sometimes when I tell people the weekly wiener thing too, the wieners will organically, the universe will be like, let me give you your wiener. So many guests are like, I had nothing. And then this morning or yesterday.
Well, because we don't think about it,
You
right?
shouldn't be, yeah.
You put it into our mind, and then we're suddenly just like, oh wait, I guess this person did annoy the fuck out of me today. Like, yeah, and that's a person who I wanted to out of sight, out of mind that person. But as soon as you sent me the podcast, I was like, oh. Guess I gotta think about this fuck a little bit more than I already have.
Oh, well, I'm glad that he came into your world for this.
Yeah, I'm glad he entered my realm for just a second as well. Just
long enough.
Yeah.
Long enough.
Yeah.
So then the other part is just a moment in life that you made into a joke and you didn't make into a joke. Like you said, you're doing the cancer material. I mean, I don't think it gets any more intense than that.
That part is very, it's challenge. It's been the hardest challenge I've ever faced because especially I was doing material as soon as I got diagnosed and that was difficult for people. But at a certain point, I had my PICC line in to get my chemotherapy and I was doing stand-up with a PICC line in my arm in front of people.
That is so badass and inspiring, like...
Terrifying to crowds. I mean, there were certain people who were into it, and other people were like, I don't want to look death in the face. Like, what's happening right now? And yeah, super challenging. You know, I never thought of the cancer as like embarrassing. I just thought I'm gonna own what this is, and I'm going to take the narrative before anyone else can put it in me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important when you're going through. It's like when you're doing material that's very personal, you need to figure out, well, how do you want people to feel when you do this material? And it took a lot of very subtle tweaking for me to figure out how I can go into this with people being on my side and wanting to hear it without them just being like, no, this is Friday night. I got a babysitter. My wife and I are on a date. I don't want to fucking hear about your cancer, Alex. This is not what I came for. Please go back to making a joke about your pugs. You know? And I personally, like, I don't know, the empath in me just can't not talk about it, at least for a time, because that's what I'm thinking about and that's what I'm going through. So how now do I make this funny? Because cancer is a ubiquitous disease. It touches everybody. Whether you get it, if you don't get it, somebody right next to you in your life is going to get it. Yeah. Those are the options. One of you or both of you are going to get it. So I'm talking about it. I
think you should talk about it.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say that. I think that the audience is going to be able to relate.
Yeah, that's what I find. It's just I had to figure out a way to glide in like gently because there were a couple times in the very beginning I would just like aggressively go into it. And no, it's like being slapped in the face when you were just having dinner. Like, it was like, whoa, hang on a second. I was sitting here eating a steak and this guy just walked up and punched me. Like, I didn't know this was coming. So now I have found a very gentle way to just kind of like navigate the waters and be like, hey.
I have to pee so bad. This is the worst timing. You're telling such an important thing.
No, it's okay. I mean, we've been on this podcast long enough. I mean, if you want to cut it, we can cut it.
Can you just wait a second?
Yeah.
Okay,
go ahead,
I'm so sorry. My bladder's the worst.
We've talked about this.
I know.
Welcome back to Misery Loves Alex. Because for most of my life, misery did follow me around like a stray kitten that needed to be fed. My whole life was a series of misguided attempts to find humor in situations where really the truth was I was just sad. I was angry. I was mad at the universe for bringing me into this world in a way that I didn't ask for. But then, with a little bit of work and a little bit of love, I really learned just how to be myself and become the best version of Alex Hooper.
All right.
You're getting it. I can't wait till you listen to that.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good, you're good.
Okay, I was trying to not drink a lot of the coffee either, because some episodes I'll chug it and then I'm like, oh, now I have to pee twice? Can't do that. you're holding it. Sorry, I just cut you off about talking about cancer.
But I say that's kind of the end of the cancer stuff. I mean, as far as sure, I could kind of talk about it for the rest of my life. Yes, and I will be. But I think that was something where I had to talk about it, and now it was figure out a way to talk about it. It's because the last thing you want to do as a comedian is just dump trauma onto a crowd and be like you're doing a therapy session. You
don't want to do that.
That's not what it's for. Is it therapeutic to do this material? Fuck yes, it's therapeutic. But I do it in a way where the joke has to come first. No matter what, if they're not laughing, then it's not good enough. And I take it out of the set. Now, there's a couple moments in this hour that I'm doing right now where it gets emotional, it gets quiet, and I let that tension build. But that's so when I drop the next hammer down, it really connects. Yeah.
That's the best feeling. That's the one joke I was saying I'm doing now, which is my 3-minute one. And I lost my eyebrow from...
Oh, I love that joke.
From stress. Yeah, you heard it. You just heard it.
I love that joke so much. The guy with the no arm in the gym, I'm here with
That's my favorite joke now. And that was it's the smallest thing when you think about your hair, but to me it was the biggest thing.
Right.
And but knowing in the beginning if there's not a lot of laughs, that I know the ending is good.
Yeah.
Really lets you have fun without getting laughs at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, you have to be comfortable with silence is powerful, right? If everyone's chit-chatting, that's not good. If everyone's silent, you are mastering the room. You have command.
Yeah.
And that's what you want, is you want them to be on the edge of your seat. I was doing shows recently and a friend in Texas, and a friend of mine came and saw my new hour. And she said, Alex, I walked into the women's bathroom afterwards, and everyone was saying, were you crying? I was crying. I was laughing, and then I was crying. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah.
That's great.
That's hitting it. I want my show to be a fucking roller coaster of emotion. I want to take you all the way up here and then go all the way down here. But know that we are going to come back up to this point again where you leave going, whoa, okay. I didn't feel like that was an hour, I was transported to another place, whatever it is,
I can't wait to see your new special.
Oh, thank you.
Very excited. Is there anything you want to plug?
I have a podcast called Dirty Briefs. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a weekly, 10 to 15 minute thing of whatever I want it to be. Sometimes it's storytelling, sometimes it's motivational. A lot of times it's just what I'm going through at that moment. But I started it right when I got out of the hospital with the cancer stuff, and I needed just something to release. So I've been doing that. It's only almost 40 episodes in or something like that.
That's a good chunk.
Yeah, it's, and it keeps me, it's obligatory for me to put one out every week, so it's good for me to do something. Other than that, just follow me on social media, Hooper Hairpuff, hoopercomedy.com is where you can find my tour dates, and then I have tons of things out there for you to take in. If you're looking for content, there's a lot of it out there if you type in my name.
And I'll plug everything below, so find those links, follow him, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing it.